Alright, so I'm going to show how to open up and disassemble this Lenovo IdeaPad 500-15ISK. Okay, this model name is 80NT. So first what you want to do is remove all the screws from the bottom. So the two screws back here are wider screws because they're for the hinges. The rest are all like skinny long screws. You don't want to mix them up. I try and keep them in order. Even if these are the same, I'll put the left one back in the left slot and this one back in this slot. Alright, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 screws. Oh, let me snap everything back in place. Alright, so once you remove the 11 screws, once you remove these 3 screws, you can actually remove the keyboard. But once you remove all the 11 screws, what you want to do is flip the computer over. Alright, open it up slowly. If you want, leave the hinge screws in, so that way when you open this, it has more support from all the screws. Okay, but anyways, open that up. Okay. After you do that, you want to pull the keyboard out. You'll need a thin pry tool like this. So what I do is I run the pry tool towards the middle, and then I kind of pry it up. You'll actually feel clips here, so when you slide the tool along, you'll feel like there's a clip here. So you kind of have to wiggle it and get the pry tool to go behind that clip to lift it up like that. All right, same thing with this side. Once you get it there, make sure to get behind the clip. All right, and then after you do that, you can kind of bow the middle upwards while you kind of twist the sides downwards, and then that gets these side clips to disengage because it pulls it in. Okay, now this is a little bit tricky. These kinds of cables are a little bit difficult to remove and put back, or they're more difficult to put back. So if you do this, just know that you might have a little trouble. So these cables, to pull them out, what you do is you grab this thicker plastic tab that's on top, and then you just pull it out. Okay, to put it back, you have to use the tab, and you basically have to line it up. Okay, make sure you line it up right, and then use the tab at like a 90-degree angle, and you use that to push with your finger to get that back slotted in. Okay, so we're gonna take this out. This one, the keyboard was damaged, so we're actually gonna leave the keyboard out. If you need, the keyboard is here, T6G1B-USB. Okay, Lenovo part number here, 5N20H03486. And then there's another compal number. You can read those. Usually you won't need any of those other model numbers. Sorry, why is it not focusing? There we go. Okay, so hopefully you can read. Why is it not focusing? I don't know. It must be all the reflective surface. Okay. So hopefully you can read those part numbers. All right, I'm gonna set that aside. That I'm probably not gonna reattach because the keyboard is bad and it presses buttons. All right, so after you do that, you wanna disconnect the other cables under here. So there's this one here. So you just grab the blue tab and then you just pull it back, okay? Wiggle it and pull it, just like that. Same thing with this one. Grab it, wiggle it, and pull it, all right? Okay, after that, there are 3 screws under here. I don't know if any screws are missing because my customer did open this before to replace the RAM, but there was 1, 2, 3. All right, remove those 3 screws. They are the same size and shape and everything, so, but I try and keep them in order as I mentioned earlier. All right, let's close that up and we'll flip the laptop back over. After you do that, after you remove all those screws, you want to take the CD drive out. Just grab the thing here, the edge, and then pull it out, just like that. Okay, there's no screws under here. Technically, you don't need to remove the CD drive to remove this cover, but it will help because then you kind of have a place to start. You can grab here. Okay, and then I slide my fingernail around. You can use like a pry tool or something. There are clips, but you basically just go all the way around. Okay, this one's already kind of coming up. This part's broken, but after you get all the screws out at the back, you kind of just wiggle it and it'll pop off just like that. Okay, so that's how you get that out. I'm gonna have to clean this up later. Let me clean this a little bit right now. All right. So I kind of already showed how to reassemble it, but to reassemble, you basically just put everything back in, snap it all back in place, and yeah. so I'm not going to show a reassembly video of this since I kind of already did that. So the battery is here. There's 2 screws holding the battery in place. I don't need to remove this, but I'll just show. You don't have to take the battery physically out of the computer to remove it from the laptop or to disconnect it from the laptop. But basically, once you take those 2 screws out, you can see it rotates like this. To remove this plug, you basically grab it as close as you can to the connectors, but not on the, just be careful. And then you kind of just wiggle it like this as you pull it. Let me zoom in here. So here you can see the cable, and as you wiggle it, it's coming out slowly. Just keep wiggling, and there you go. So then you can take the battery out if you want. I don't need to take the battery out because I just need to do a SSD upgrade. So I'm going to replace the 2.5-inch SATA drive with an SSD. But anyways, once you remove the battery, I always recommend to press and hold the power button. So open the laptop back up. Right? Press and hold the power button for approximately 15 seconds just to drain any power that's in the computer. So there's less chance that you damage internal components. Alright? Okay, so I'm going to show the other connectors now, so let's close this up. That should be long enough. Again, because there's less hinge screws, you do want to be careful opening and closing the laptop. Open it and close it slowly. You should probably check these hinge screws. If they're loose, I like to add red thread locker. They are pretty tight. They're a tiny bit loose, so maybe I will add the thread locker anyways. Yeah, I'm going to add the red thread locker. So I'm going to clean the dust off, but later I need to add this red thread locker stuff. You basically just put a tiny bit on the screw. I'll show you an example with one of them, but the rest I'll do afterwards. So this one's a little bit less dusty, so I'll show the example with this. So if you notice, the screws have like some blue stuff on it. That's thread locker, but it's like not as strong, so I like to use the red stuff. All right. So basically you just squeeze a little bit on there. You probably can't even really see it that well, but the screw has like a tiny bit of it on there. After that, you just put the screw back in. All right. So I'm going to do the rest off camera after I clean the dust out, but basically that's how you do that. All right. So you got the CD drive connector here. So if you want, you can actually replace that. These connectors you get out just by popping up this little latch like the keyboard, and then you can pull the connector out, and then basically you just put it back in and then put the latch back down. Okay, it's just like that. Line it up, close the latch. All right, so I'm gonna open up some of these. The speakers here, there's 2. Oops, sorry, you can't even see. There's 2 screws. Let me zoom back out so you can see the whole computer. All right, so speakers, 2 screws. To disconnect this connector, just like the battery connector, you kind of just grab it and you keep wiggling this just like that. It comes out. All right. Same thing, the other speaker has 2 screws. All right. All these ports are attached to the board except for this board here, which has the SD card slot, 1 USB port, and the headphone, 3.5mm headphone jack. All right. So we are going to replace the hard drive. So to do that, flip up this latch, pull this connector out. All right, be careful with it. You kind of want to, I think there's some adhesive on it. Yeah, so be careful. All right, and then you want to take out the 4 screws holding the hard drive in place. There is an warranty sticker here. I did take it out earlier because it was having issues and I wanted to test and make sure. But yeah, remove the 4 screws holding the hard drive in place. This is a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive. You can upgrade it with a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive. So if you're looking to upgrade to an SSD like I am, you'll want a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive. If you want a recommendation what type of hard drive or SSD to buy, just let me know. Sometimes it's not like a direct answer. Sometimes people want more performance, or more speed, or more storage. So yeah. Okay, and then you want to remove this metal hard drive caddy. So there's 4 screws holding that in place. I'm going to leave these screws in here. All right. So I'm going to leave those there because I'm going to have to put them back later. So when you get the SSD, you basically just put it back in this tray, the same, make sure the connector's facing the same way, and put the screws back in. But right now I'm just taking out the hard drive. Again, this is a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive. This is a regular spinning disk drive. I always recommend putting SSDs in all the computers because it makes a huge difference. So we're going to leave that there. I'll set the hard drive aside for now. Alright, we got the RAM here. This guy, he upgraded his RAM, so I don't think you'd have this RAM in here. But this is an 8 gig PC3 or DDR3 1600. Alright, so if you can even see that. Alright. And then to put it back, you put it at an angle like this. I use this to squeeze it, make sure it's in properly, and then push this down. All right, I'm going to take this one out, see if it's the same. It's also 8 gigs, PC3L 12800S. So one is going by the megahertz of the RAM, and I'm not sure what the 12800 stands for. I think it has something also to do with the frequency, but yeah. I don't know. If somebody knows, just let me know. I don't really look up that stuff because it doesn't really help me fix computers. But anyways, you got the wireless card here. I don't want to peel this up because there's this Kapton tape on it. But almost all my other videos show how to do this. To remove the antennas, you basically go from the tail, pull it up. Don't try and pry from the front here. You want to pull from the tail up. It'll pop off. To put it back, just make sure it lines up. And then you can push it back down. The one screw comes out, it'll pop up like the RAM, and then you can pull it out. Alright, the CPU is soldered to the board as well as the GPU here. I believe this is, what is this? It looks like RAM, but I don't know. Maybe this is video memory. It's kind of strange. Well, alright, so you got the DC jack connector here. Looks like it goes across up on top of this. So to remove the DC jack, you do have to take the hinge screws out and lift the hinge up slightly. But this connector basically comes out like the battery. You just grab that, wiggle it, and pull it. Then you got the LCD connector here, or LVDS connector. Same thing, you just grab it and wiggle it and pull it out just like that. Oh, that came out really easily. I wasn't expecting that. Alright, so if you need to take out the LCD connector, that's how you do that. And it looks like that's pretty much all there is. There is the CMOS or the BIOS battery here. So if you do need to reset the BIOS, you can take this battery out, and then you basically, there's the two metal points here. You can short those together. Just make sure you disconnected the battery, held the power button to drain it, and you don't have it plugged in the wall. Alright, then you can drain the CMOS battery. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is. One other thing, if you wanted, you can convert this CD drive into a second hard drive slot using a CD drive adapter. I believe this is a 12mm thick drive. Let me get a ruler and double check. I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. So let's see here. Oh wait, it's not 12. This is 9, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's a 9mm thick drive. Okay, so this is about 9mm thick. So if you were to get the adapter to update it to add another hard drive or 2.5-inch SATA SSD, they do have adapters, and then you can transfer over this bracket. If you wanted to transfer over this bracket, you'll need a needle, or you'll have to open the CD drive in advance when you turn on the computer. But you can use a needle. There's a little hole here. You just push the needle in there, all right, and wiggle it around. Why is it not opening? That's weird. This one's not working for some reason. Maybe this slot is jammed. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, so you do that. These things are pretty difficult to remove. A lot of times these clips will snap off. But here you can see there's one clip here, and then you kind of have to push that out and pull on this, and then it will swing out. A lot of times it will snap though, so just know that you might end up damaging that clip, and then you might have to use super glue to glue it onto the hard drive caddy. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to this model. Hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe. If you're looking at how to reassemble, just basically do everything in reverse. It looks like the fan is easy to remove as well. There's 3 screws here, and the connector comes out just like all the other pull connectors, like the speaker connector down here. So yeah, once again, hopefully this video helped. If it did, please like and subscribe so others can find my videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.